Well, welcome to my class on odd meters today, March 17th, 2008. And I'm just going to begin by playing a tune that I think everybody knows, Summertime, in 5/4 time. First off, I'd like to talk a little bit about subdivisions, because it's in my experience that subdividing the bar into 5/8, if we're talking about a 5/4 thing, is quite helpful to do that. And just a little bit of a background, I guess. When I first started playing in odd meters, I was kind of uncomfortable with with it doing so, because all of my phrases were sort of 4/4 and 3/4 phrases. Now, of course, if you use 2s and 3s in certain combinations, you can play odd meters. I mean, that's really, it's just about 2s and 3s, right? But a lot of my phrases that I was playing were things that worked in 4/4, let's say, and I would try to make them fit over 5/4, and it was really easy to get lost. And the only thing that used to keep me in line was, you know, having some kind of ostinato pattern or something, you know, like this sort of thing. You know, it's kind of hard to get lost over that, right? But you know, when I began playing with guys that were really free with the time and weren't always stating one, or you know, playing that sort of ostinato thing, you know, it was really easy to get lost. So I began searching around for things that worked as far as feeling the time, and what I found that really worked well for me was using eighth notes to subdivide the measure. So if you look at the materials here, the first example is I'm playing 2 + 3 and then another 2 + 3. So I've got my metronome here beating in 5. So if we were to play one single note on this, let's just, I guess, play the note G, third string open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like that. Letter B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I still got to get used to this bleed. 2, 3, 4, B. See, I'm stressing those accents a little bit. So 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, which is letter B. Letter C. 2, 3, 4, C. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, like that. Okay. Maybe letter D. What I'll try is playing, like, say, a C major scale. 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a cool way to practice scales, you know, breaking them up into 5s or 7s and 9s, things like that. We're doing something interesting here in 2C. I've got triad pairs. Now these triad pairs can be a really cool sound in improvising. It can be kind of a rather modern sound, and I'm using B flat and A flat triads on these, and as I mentioned, it can be in the right next to 2C. It says it can be used over D7 altered, and the reason for that is to get away from time for a minute and talk about harmony. The reason why that works is that over D flat 7, if we want the raised and lowered 5th and 9th, we use things from E flat melodic minor. We go up and use the melodic minor a half step above. Okay. Now the 4 and 5 chords in E flat melodic minor are A flat major and B flat major, if we're talking about triads, you know. Okay. So if you can get over D7 altered, you can get this sound. Or you can hear that's altered. Okay. Also, we can use this, let's say, over something like F Dorian, because F Dorian is the 2 chord of E flat major in the key of E flat. And the A flat and B flat triad pairs are the 4 and 5 chord in E flat major. So over, let's say, a vamp like now we're going to use, you can tape this on a blue pedal. Okay. Now the example that I'm going to just play the example. 1, 2, 3, 4, play. 2, 3, next line. 5. Okay, so the second one was a little bit more interesting. 3, 4, 5. You can consider that over F minor again, for instance. Oh, it could be E flat major. Any chord in the key of E flat major would be great with these triad pairs. We come up with many different scenarios, but I think probably the two most popular ones you'll be playing would be doing A flat and B flat triad pairs over F Dorian and over D7 altered. Yeah, so that's another great thing is to play standards and odd meters, for a while, and come up with little comping grooves. I remember the first time somebody asked me to comp, it was just very, it was in an offhanded way at a rehearsal. He said, "Hey, let's do this thing in 7/4." Man, I wasn't prepared to deal with that at all. He said, "Just play a 7/4 comping pattern." I didn't know what a 7/4 comping pattern was. It was one of those things like, geez, how do I approach that? Because the thing is that when we're playing in 4/4, we're not really thinking very hard about things at all, are we? 4/4, you're just feeling it. And the thing is you've got to end up feeling it in 7/4, but you can't just do that out of the blue. I mean, it's really hard. I think I ended up thinking like, well, I'll just play one measure of 4/4 and one measure of 3/4, and I probably played something pretty lame. But it was just a rehearsal, It wasn't like it was a recording session, but I started realizing like, wow, this is something that I really have to address in my playing. So right now, having worked on all these comping patterns and these ways to subdivide, I have no problem in doing it. Which and you start hearing it when drummers are playing, let's say in 4/4, they're doing a solo. You can hear them playing 5/4 claves and 7/4 claves and things like that, and you'll recognize it as such, So it's really great. It's a really eye-opening thing when you start being able to hear this in people's playing. Like if you hear somebody play this clave, that's a 5/4 clave. 1 2 1 2 3 1 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3. I don't even have. I'm not really even counting that. It's just something that you hear. And so that's kind of the way I prefer to do it. Of course, when you're playing, you can't count this stuff anyway, so you just have to practice it and internalize it, and it'll come out in a natural kind of way, There's a couple of I'll tell you a quick funny story that I was playing the tune Careful, of all things, by Jim Hall, and I was working a lot on 7/4 at this time, and we were playing this live, we were playing the tune Careful, which is in 4/4, but I guess I just naturally went into 7/4 without even thinking about it, and I was, in my mind, everything was cool. The bass player, who doesn't play in that time ever really, great bass player, but it's just it's not something that he's used to doing. He looked at me and he said, "Where are you at, man?" And I realized, oh, geez, I slipped into it. So it can be dangerous, but that's sort of more in the beginning stages. You might do that. I don't think that happens as much once you're able to compartmentalize things a little bit better and not make those kind of errors. But I just thought it was worth sharing with you because it became the 7/4 was so natural. I just went into it and didn't even realize it. At the bottom of the page, the second part of 2F, comping pattern. I'm going to not use a metronome for this because I want this to go a little faster, like 1 2 3 4 5. Now you notice I was playing those first two quarter notes as really eighth, and then eighth rest, eighth rest. It doesn't, you know, if you want to do it another way, you could go like. Make it like a Latin thing. You know, try this also swing, you know. Try different grooves, you know. Okay? All right. Now, back to this idea of triad pairs. You know, this is just something that personally I have a lot of fun when practicing this stuff. Trying out different sort of concepts, it helps because, you know, you're getting into application now. How am I going to use this in a playing situation, which I find real handy. Okay, so these two triad pairs on the top of page 4, B and D flat, can be used, well, I wrote F7 altered, so again it's like if you go melodic minor a half step above the root of F7, that's G flat melodic minor, and I'm using the 4 and 5 chords of G flat melodic minor, which are C flat and D flat. Or you can think of it as B if that's better. B and C sharp, B and D flat, and harmonically the same. So another scenario you would use these triad pairs in, B and D flat, would be let's say anything in the key of G flat major, any diatonic chord in the key of G flat major. So let's say you're doing A flat Dorian, which is the 2 chord of G flat. In the key of G flat major, right? This would be a perfect kind of, these two triad pairs would work really well over that, B and D flat. So that's where I'm getting these from, okay? The 4 and 5 chord of whatever key I want it to be in. So if we're thinking about this as F7 altered, you know, get some, you know, real altered sounding chord, we can use how that's giving that altered flavor. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now with the rest, it'll sound like 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Let's say our vamp. A flat minor 11. So the cool thing about practicing things like this is they're kind of sequential. They are sequential. So if you're practicing things in third and you're going, you know, then you know it's something that it holds together, you know, rather than sort of a scalar thing. Although scalar things, I mean, that's scalar as well because you know you're playing in thirds. So you're going. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.